John Slaughter in the portal. I'm not concerned about John Slaughter. I'm concerned about potentially Mike Matthews entering the portal, some Nico buddies entering the portal. But what do you make of John Slaughter in and of himself entering the portal?
I actually think it's a good sign that for Tennessee that John Slaughter's entered the portal. And let me break down why. Slaughter played all 13 games as a freshman and then saw significant action, started a few times last year as a sophomore as a safety. Christian Harrison entered the transfer portal back in December. You had every reason to believe that he was going to be a significant impact player, right?
Yes.
Here's what I think happened.
Good Lord, though, if I hear about his dad one more time playing in the NFL, I'm going to vomit.
His dad played in the NFL? Or
Rodney Harrison.
Oh, yeah, but Christian Harrison's gone. Yeah, but okay. So John Slaughter's dad, John Slaughter's dad, listen to me. Now you got me saying, okay. What happened last year at safety, Dave? Jordan Thomas suffered a season-ending injury, remember?
Yes.
He's back. Jacoby Thomas is back at safety. Andre Turrentine is back at safety. I think Slaughter entered the portal because in spring practice, Thomas and Turrentine took a major step forward, and Jacoby Thomas took a major step forward, and so did Andre Turrentine. And Jordan Thomas has now returned and is looking as every bit as good as he did before he got hurt. So I think Tennessee is actually going to be much better at safety this year, and the depth is what pushed John Slaughter into the transfer portal.
I want to ask you this. Does Tennessee have a portal problem? Not a porta potty problem, but a portal problem. We broadcast from the Ted Russell Ford Lincoln Studios, East Tennessee's largest volume dealer. You'll be so happy with your purchase. TedRussell.net, TedRussellFord.net. Let's talk Slaughter and let's talk transfer portal, because if you haven't been paying attention, Tennessee has lost a lot. Here we
go. Like a blast from the past, the super dealer is back. Look to the skies, Knoxville. The super dealer is fighting for price, service, and the American-made. Ted Russell Ford is East Tennessee's #1 volume Ford dealer. Save up to $4,350 on a new Ford F-150 XLT, or get into a new Ford Ranger XLT with no payments for 90 days. Come see the super dealer today at either Ted Russell Ford location.
All right, so let's address this on the front end, Tennessee's safety position. So should you be concerned about John Slaughter? I personally thought that John Slaughter was an overachiever. I didn't think he was big. I didn't think he was fast. I thought he was a stopgap player that Tennessee would have more talent at that position. If you remember, he started at corner. So I think it's been pretty obvious that with Jermon McCoy, Ricky Gibson III, that they have indeed had more talent at the position that he was originally recruited to play. So I don't think Tennessee has a safety or defensive back problem just because John Slaughter jumps into the portal. You?
No. I think it's a sign that Tennessee's better at safety. And let's think about this. Jermon McCoy's banged up at cornerback, right? You and I don't think he's going to be 100% in the fall.
No. Good chance. It's an ACL injury in January. Plus, Josh Heupel is always overly optimistic on injury returns.
Right. So I think with that in mind, I would have John Slaughter. I think that Tennessee needs their safeties to be much, much better. And I think so with McCoy. So the safeties need to be much, much better and help bring the cornerbacks along, because you're probably going to have Ricky Gibson, Jalen McMurray, and Boo Carter starting at the corner and nickel spots. So you want Turrentine, Thomas, and then the two Thomases being impact players at safety in a rotation. I think Slaughter entering the portal tells me that those safeties are going to be really, really, really good. Those other ones. And so I think that John Slaughter hitting the portal is a really, really good sign that Tennessee is getting what they need at safety. Pretty much. I guess that's where I'm landing with this. Is Tennessee's safeties have emerged as a significant force. I think they will be much, much, much better this year.
Okay, so we know Tim Banks is a defensive coach, coached a lot of defensive backs. Are we to the point where you can say Tennessee's defensive backs from year to year are going to be a strength? Because we say that with Rodney Garner on the defensive line. Should we start saying that with Tennessee's defensive backfield?
that Tim Banks has done a great job developing guys and finding bodies?
No, that it's something you can count on from year to year, that Tennessee is going to have at least a good secondary. For instance, let's go back to the Philip Fulmer days. You knew he was going to have at least a good offensive line. Maybe not dominant, maybe not great. Let's go to the Steve Spurrier days. You knew he was going to have good receivers. Maybe not dominant, maybe not great. You see where I'm going there? Is Tennessee at that point?
Yes. And also, I think given what happened with Jermon McCoy, Dave, last year, and given Alontae Taylor being a second-round draft pick, I think you're about to see kind of a, I don't want to say renaissance, kind of a wave of really good cornerbacks wanting to play for Tennessee because, even though secondary has been an issue, given the way Heupel coaches and everything like that, it's a very good chance that, like, you can sell it if you're the number one cornerback, you can turn into a star at Tennessee. I mean, Jermon McCoy was an All-American.
Yeah, here's the other thing, too. We talked about for years, the first couple of years of Josh Heupel's tenure, that Tennessee, the defensive players wouldn't want to play for them. I've totally, because of the offense, and it makes them play 80 plays a game and teams are coming back, I've totally changed my tune on that. I'm taking them back to the 2022 year, not the double tight end look last year, but they still aren't horrible offensively. If you've got a lead and I'm Omar Norman Lott and I don't have to worry about the run and I can rip up field, then I get more sacks, which is fun. And if I'm a defensive back, there are more balls in the air and I've got a greater opportunity to make plays. I've done a complete 180 on that. I think defensive players, especially as long as Tennessee has depth and you don't get worn out, I think defensive prospects should want to play for Tennessee.
I would think so too, and I'm shocked that the corners have actually fared better than the safeties because I thought safeties would have better opportunities to make big plays. Because let's be honest, Dave, when you judge teams you don't judge cornerbacks on interceptions. You judge safeties on interceptions. You judge cornerbacks on actual passing yards picked up in a game, and Tennessee struggled with that. But
I got to pick some balls off.
I agree with you on that, and so. But so what are you? So we're in agreement. John Slaughter didn't leave because of the system, right? John Slaughter left because Tennessee safeties are emerging, and Tennessee's getting depth there, right?
I would agree with that. Yeah, I mean, I think they're deeper. I mean, how much was John Slaughter going to play?
Yeah, and so when you study this transfer portal, guys, you got to look. Spring portal entries are, with the exception of the Nico situation, are typically good news for you. So I think that Tennessee should be. I think they're in good shape. I think they should be happy about the whole situation. I do. I think they're going to be fine at safety, and I think this is actually a good sign. And so I think John Slaughter hitting the portal is a sign of specifically of Jordan Thomas returning and becoming elite.
The poll question, we'll reset that. But first, the previous poll question, what do you expect out of a quarterback in the transfer portal? A true factor, a warm body. A true factor, 54%, a warm body, which Caleb finds is some sort of sexual innuendo, gets 45% of the vote. And then replacing that are UT's defensive backs, a sure thing. Yes, Tim Banks has got this. No, not sold yet. I think he's got this. I think he's turned Ricky Gibson III into a solid corner. I think the fact that he was able to transition Jermon McCoy, who I realized was a transfer and you expect more out of him, but he transitioned to him quickly. He's taken defensive backs from the corner position, moved them to defensive backs. Look at what he did with Boo Carter. I really think are they as sure of a thing as Tennessee's defensive line with Rodney Garner? Probably not. But I could make a strong argument they're the second most sure thing on the team because I like what Glenn Ellerby's done on the offensive line, but I haven't seen the development there. It's really tough to judge the linebackers on the flip side because of the injuries to Keenan Pili. Quarterbacks have been up and down. Receivers have not been established early. I think we're having a discussion here. Tennessee's defensive backs, other than the defensive line, are the most sure thing on the team.
Yeah, I think so too.
Doesn't it sound weird to say it? Because we didn't go over that in our 3:45 a.m. production meeting. It sounds weird when I first say it, but I think there's something to that.
No, they're the most solid. I totally agree. I totally agree. I think Tennessee's defensive backs are the most solid thing on the team, are one of the most solid things on the team. Sure things to be solid. And they're much better now than they were a couple of years ago, particularly at safety. I think the safety position is where you're seeing the biggest improvement going forward, which is why Slaughter's in the portal.